Okay. Is it okay? Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Now, pretty much everyone is out. Great. For our first and also final full day of this retreat. So, I hope we can make full use of this day today that is given to us to practice. I do have a few slides again, and they are about the sutta, the discourse that you got in your email, and that is also on the board outside the kitchen. So I will be going through this sutta probably in 2 sessions to split it up. But before I do that, anything to mention or add at this stage?
Yeah, should be things as you slowly settle down. You slowly take the mind some time to allow those thoughts to slowly calm down. Because we are conditioned to think a lot. To come into a quiet place, it does take a while for our mind to settle, for the wandering mind to slow down. I mean, when I was a lay person, every time coming to the monastery to stay, I find that the thoughts does take a while to slow down. But one is slow down, then is replaced with just awareness. So when awareness is there, you know what's going on. You can see things more clearly. Then your 5 senses becomes enhanced. Because if we think a lot of awareness is gone into thinking. So it's a bit like learning to write with the left hand. The right hand is the thinking and planning mind, and the left hand is the mind is calm, fully aware, and still. So it does take a while to train your mind from thinking and planning to a mind that's fully aware and knowing mind. So this knowing mind it is something that can be conditioned. So as long as we have a big self, then there's always a thinking and playing mind there. But if we can be selfless and calm and still, then the mind that's calm and fully aware can be slowly enhanced. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that just reminds me of a teaching that I was giving recently in Rollystone. So the mind that Bhante Cunda is describing is like a sharp knife, Ajahn Chah called it. And the sharp knife is really, really useful. You can cut a lot of things with a sharp knife in the kitchen when you're cooking and making breakfast and preparing things for lunch. But you have to use the knife in the right way. If you go outside and you start cutting rocks, you start cutting bricks, you start cutting the soil or even grass, what will happen to that sharp knife? It will become blunt. And that's the same thing with our mind. We have to understand that our mind is actually sharp when it's peaceful, calm, clear. But if we just don't take care of it and go cutting all sorts of stuff that is hard, that is not meant to be cut with a subtle, clear, kind mind, then we blunt it. And then we have to go back and sharpen it up again and then protect it. So that's what the practice is all about. It's a beautiful simile from Ajahn Chah to kind of understand how this works. But it, as Bhante Cunda said, it does take time to understand what can be cut and what can't be cut with the mind in that simile. Okay, so I wanted to start off with the Dhammapada verse. It's Dhammapada verse 183, and it goes as follows. Avoiding all the unwholesome. That's basically what makes your knife blunt. Cultivating the wholesome. that is what helps to sharpen the knife, together with purifying one's mind. This is the teaching and instruction of all Buddhas, not just of the Buddha that we know, but any Buddha who arises in this world teaches those three things. It's a beautiful summary of the teachings. Avoiding what is unwholesome, cultivating what is wholesome, purifying the mind. What does that mean in simple terms? It means renunciation, cultivation, purification. And that's what I would like to talk about in relation to the sutta that I have chosen. But first, another Dhammapada verse to get a little bit of an understanding what renunciation actually is. If by renouncing, the word in Pali is parichaga, a lesser happiness, one may realize a greater happiness. So it's like with that knife, you can cut different things. Or you can even sharpen the knife. And one of it doesn't destroy the sharpness or makes it even sharper. The other thing actually bluntens it. And if we understand with wisdom, that's what happens. Then the wise will renounce the things that are of lesser happiness and having regard of greater happiness. But Ajahn Brahm often says that's like becoming a connoisseur. And becoming a connoisseur of food or of whatever else it is takes time and takes skill. It takes a palate who can taste and understand. And it's the same with the mind and meditation. And the meditation objects and what arises and how to apply your mind and all these kind of things. So parichaga, another of my kind of favorite words, means giving up, sacrifice, self-sacrifice, abandonment, desertion, donation and charity. Again, giving, like we talked about yesterday. Letting go, another way of expressing it is also giving. Sacrifice is one of those words which is sometimes a bit difficult because we connected with sacrifices, even that the Buddha told the people 2,600 years ago, are not helpful, like sacrificing animals to appease the gods or something like that. So the relinquishing that we talk about is what I showed you before. Understanding that one thing is of less value, and that's why we're investing into something which is of more value. And sacrifice is probably not the best word to use. Renunciation is a better word. Very often I hear parents talk about their children and saying, I have sacrificed so much. And yes, it's true. But again, if we have an understanding why we're giving up something which is worth less for something which is worth more, then it has a completely different meaning, this word. So we renounce out of wisdom, out of understanding, because we know what we are letting go of is less valuable than what we are investing in. And the word pari, that you might know from parinibbana, means all around, all together, completely. So chaga is giving, donation, giving up, abandonment, and pari makes the word complete. Like when we talked about yesterday, letting go a little, letting go a lot, or letting go completely. Another word that is often used in Buddhism is nekamma, and that describes renunciation very nicely as well. So the definition, by the way, these definitions all come from Sutta Central that you can use online for yourself. The suttas come up, you can click on the Pali word, and ta-da, the translation comes up. So it's the departure from worldly life, the renunciation of worldly things and values, whatever is the opposite of or rejection of all worldly sensual experiences and desires. But again, we do this with the understanding, with the experience through practice that we are investing in something which is worth more. So nekkhamma, for people who are familiar with Buddhism, is actually the first aspect of the second factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. So it's an important thing. And it is based on the first factor, which is right view, which is basically wisdom, understanding. So the sutta, or I shall say the suttas I have chosen, you got them, and I have a copy here, but I will have it all on the screen, could be translated as regular reflections and perceptions for renunciants. So they're not exactly the same, those suttas, but some of the things overlap. So I've kind of summarized and brought those two suttas together. And I also put the Pali there for people who are familiar with that. So a reflection is like the chantings we do. It's something to gain understanding what this is all about. And once we have reflected, once we have adopted something as our view, because we agree with that way of seeing it, then it changes into a perception. We kind of start to see the world from the perspective of what the reflection offers us. So that's kind of the next step. And we have two words that are used here, so don't worry about the Pali too much if that's not your kind of thing. But samana, sanya, and pabajita. So I just want to explain those words a little bit more that we understand. So a samana is an ascetic, a renunciant, so a person who is renouncing. Usually it's a term used for a holy man, a monk, a recluse, a nun, a monastic. And it's also used for the Buddha. But when we look at the word renunciant, how it is used in the world, it's actually used as well for normal people, for lay people. And what we usually renounce is, yes, in a spiritual sense, the world, but you can also renounce citizenship. You can also renounce the ownership of a property. So that will give you an understanding what that means. When you renounce, you basically would be able to have something. You're entitled, so to speak, to have something. But out of wisdom, out of understanding, you decide not to. Turn away and turn towards something else. The other word, pabajita, is much more used in a monastic content. So here you have monk, monastic, renunciant, an ordained person, a female or a male monastic. So when that word is used, it's much more clear it's actually a monk or a nun who is practicing, or who the teachings are given to. But again, Prem will remember, and also Bhante Cunda, when we were over in Thailand and we were listening to Ajahn Ganha, he used the word pra a lot. And he used it to say that when we practice, that everybody is a monk. That's how the translation was. But I inquired a little bit more about this word, pra, in Thailand itself, and then also when I came back. And what I found out is that pra conveys, yes, deep respect and reverence when referring to monastics, to sacred objects, and Buddhist principles. But if you want to translate it in one word without having another word that it kind of qualifies, like pra-Buddha, like the Buddha that we venerate, it could be translated by itself as venerable. So that means when we are on this path, when we're practicing these Buddhist principles, we are venerating certain qualities. that we are developing. So we're not venerating a person as such, a monk or a layperson or a practitioner. It's actually the qualities. And because of that, the status, if you want to call it that, is not so important if it is a monastic or a layperson. This type of practice, when it is practiced, it doesn't matter who the person is, because what we are developing is the same thing. So that way we can all become venables. We can all develop qualities in our own heart that are worthy of veneration. And that's what we venerate when we bow to the Buddha. That's what we venerate when we bow to monastics. That's what we venerate when we, in Asia, bow to our parents. We express our respect, our gratitude, our veneration to something which is higher than ourselves, something which is higher than the sense of self. So, the sutta starts with practitioners. When these three perceptions or reflections for renunciants are developed and cultivated, they fulfill 7 things. So this morning I would like to go through those 3 things. And those 3 things, when they are developed, when they are fulfilled, paripureti, then they naturally have the other 7 things that are mentioned in this sutta as a result. So that is the foundation. That is the important part to understand, to reflect, to practice. So what are these 3 things? I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. Again, this was given to monastics who have turned away from the world, who are renunciants. But if it's translated in this way, I'm sure it makes sense to you as lay people as well. So when you become a Buddhist, and you don't become a Buddhist just because you did a ritual or because you wear certain clothes or because you go to a certain place, all these things are very, very important and can be supportive. But what makes you a Buddhist is your heart, is what you're practicing and is what you're living. And that's basically this, understanding that I am no longer living according to worldly aims and values. I'm not chasing after the things which blunten the knife, the things which are basically pointless very often, or they tire me out in a way that is just not useful, it's not skillful, it's not helpful. That's the Pali there. Now, the Pali is a little bit more tricky. So when you look at it, the first word means you change appearance, you change social order, you have a different state of caste. So this relates back to Buddhism, or back to India basically, 2,600 years ago. The society was different there. And you arrive, you reach, you enter, you become, you change from one way to another way. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is doing a lot of translations, he's one of the very prominent scholars, wrote about this. The 4 main classes of Indian society in the Buddha's time were referred to as Varna, which basically means color. And thus, the privative form, Vivarna, should mean without class or classless. So we're giving up the class, we're giving up the sense of self, we're giving up the status. That's what the world is all about. Spirituality goes in a completely different direction. So, Vanya is the abstract noun, which means classlessness. So it implies that those who go forth give up their prior status of being a Brahmin, a Kratya, a Vesa, or a Sudra, or an outcast. So that was the caste system in India back then. and they will become simply known as ascetics, as renunciants, following the Sakyan Son. And again, it's not just the Buddhists. When you are, the monastics, when you are following the Buddhist path, you're basically also following the Buddha. You are kind of like a son of the Buddha as well. So the translations from other people, I have entered upon a classless condition. I have secured freedom from class. And my preferred translation comes from Amaravati Publications, from the Bhikkhu Manual that I mentioned before, and that is part of what I shared with you to reflect upon. I'm no longer living according to worldly aims and values. I hope you understand a little bit more now where that is pointing towards, what to reflect about, and what renunciation in that respect might mean. Next one, second reflection, that becomes a view and a perception and becomes a thought in our mind at some stage. My way of life is tied up with, is dependent upon, and supported by others. Again, for a monastic, that becomes very clear if you understand how we live. We have given up all our money, our bank accounts, credit cards, our possessions. So we are completely dependent on the kind lay people who support those values, those things that we grow in our heart, and that come and offer food every day at the monastery. That come and make sure we have clothing, we have a place to stay, we have, what else? Medicine, and I forgot one. Shelter? Yep. You know, I think I had that, isn't it?
Okay.
Robe, shelter, food, medicine. Yes, that's right, that's the four. But now, of course, as lay people, if you reflect, you will realize you are dependent on so many other people, on so many levels. What that always reminds me of, and especially because in 3 days it's going to be the death anniversary for my mum who passed away 2 years ago, it will be, to remember what she and what my dad, who passed away 12 years ago, have done for me as a little vulnerable child who is completely dependent. We come into this world with nothing. And we meet these beautiful people, our parents, our guardians, our teachers, who are there for us, who support us, who teach us, who show us the world and make sure that we are safe and taken care of in this world. And that extends even further. You know, it's not just your parents, your teachers, your family. It's the community. It's the country we live in. It's, you know, everything basically. I mean, what we are sitting in here now has come about because of the kindness of so many people who have donated to a good cause to make it possible for us to practice here. All the food that we eat had to be planted by someone, had to be processed, packaged, driven somewhere, sold, prepared, cooked. So many things to realize that we are dependent on. All the roads, they don't just appear from nowhere. They need to be built. All the buildings, everything. So it's important to reflect on this, and that will give us humility, that will allow us to be humble, and that will allow us to be grateful. So that's the Pali there. And basically, jivika means livelihood. Our way of life needs support. So it is dependent on others, it's bound up on other people, and it's supported by other people. And when we think in this way, automatically we let go of the sense of self, isn't it? It's not about us, what we have done for other people. We're thinking about what all the people have done for us. And if everyone would be thinking like that, of course, then other people would be thinking about what we have done for them, but we don't have to worry about that. It will happen naturally. So this is there for us to cultivate appreciation, to be grateful, to have gratitude in our heart, and then to be thankful. When I talk about these three words, I always put them together. Appreciation means understanding, knowing, seeing, that there is something of value that I appreciate. So you see it, you understand it, you let it into your heart, and then you let gratitude build up in your heart. Gratitude fill your heart. And then the gratitude overflows into thankfulness. Thankfulness, for me, the word is an expression of actually letting other people know, letting other people feel, expressing your gratitude, expressing your appreciation. And here we don't talk, but we can still express our thankfulness by being respectful, by being quiet, by being harmonious, by sharing a smile, by nodding, by opening a door. So many things can be done to express this gratitude and this thankfulness. And if we have that in our heart, the practice, the meditation, the mindfulness will flow very, very naturally. Third one, my behavior and my conduct should be different. That's the Pali there. Let's have a look at a couple of these words, where that translation comes from. Akapo, deportment, conduct, behavior. So how we feel, how we think will kind of leak out into the world. You can kind of contain it to some degree. That's what restraint is about. But if there isn't mindfulness and if there isn't restraint, it will actually flow out of us. It flow into our conduct and into our behavior. So by watching people, not with a fault-finding mind, or by watching ourselves, we can actually get an inkling and an understanding what is happening internally, what we think, what we feel, how we see the world, how we're applying our minds. Anya means other, different. So, as I described before, when we commit to wisdom, when we commit to this path, when we commit to peace, then our value system changes, as it is mentioned in the first point. And when that changes, that has some implications. That means our behavior has to adjust, has to change as well. But as I said probably many times now, it's not something that happens through force. It's something that happens through understanding, and that's something that happens basically naturally. And karanio is what should be done. So we chanted the Metta Sutta this morning, and the first sentence of the Metta Sutta is, "This is what should be done." Now, when we hear about shoulds, we always think, oh no, I should be this way, I should be that way, I'm not good enough, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. When the Buddha talks about karanio, about what should be done, it's a very simple relationship of cause and effect. In the Metta Sutta it says, if you wish to develop those beautiful 15 qualities that are mentioned in the Metta Sutta in the beginning, if you wish to develop those, grow those, understand those, live those, then this is what should be done. So it's a causal relationship. It's not like, you shall do this and you shall not do that. So that's the same here. We understand the behavior should change if we adopt the right views, the right motivations. So that is all about cultivation and purification. Very good. That's what I wanted to say this morning. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps you to reflect on the sutta that I have chosen. The thing that I didn't mention is with those 3 points, I'm no longer living according to worldly aims and values. My livelihood is tied up with dependent upon others. My behavior should be different. Always comes, especially in the suttas of the 10, or the sutta of the 10 reflections, with this should be reflected upon again and again. So that is one practice that you can do if you wish, in a way that is conducive and helpful to what we are trying to develop here. Not as a guilt trip, but as a kind reminder of seeing the beautiful things we wish to grow closer to, and also seeing the potential of the beautiful things which are present in us, and also seeing the things which are already there, and then just encouraging them to grow even further, to become stronger and to be maintained. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think that's really straightforward.
So the next thing is the guided meditation, but this time it's going to be a guidance into meditation. So that's maybe 10 or 15 minutes that one of us will take turns. We'll just gently give you some suggestions that you can reflect upon, that you can take in and practice, to kind of give you a little push. It's like the trampoline, or the what is it called? The thing you bounce on before you hop into the pool, the springboard, like a little springboard to get you ready to jump off into meditation. And then please practice by yourself in a way that is appropriate to your mind state, to the state of your body. So sit on a chair, sit on the floor, go into some walking meditation in between, go for a quiet walk outside, just get a cup of tea, sit somewhere quietly. Whatever is conducive to nourish and to cultivate and to encourage and strengthen mindfulness, kindness, and peace. Okay. So make yourself comfortable. Oops. Allow your eyes to gently close. In order to make it easier to renounce the world, to let go of the world for now. The world out there will be okay without us for a little while. So we can turn inwards. We can allow the awareness that is usually pointed out into the world to fall back onto ourselves, to fall back onto this body, to fall back onto the sensations, the feelings happening in this body, tuning in with them. And by doing that, also tuning in with our minds and what the minds are doing, the movement of the mind, the thoughts, the emotions, the attitudes, the motivations. And then be kind with them, accepting, allowing them to settle and to rest. If you're not used to have your eyes closed, you can have them half closed. Or if at any time in meditation it becomes a bit too much, please feel free to not follow my instructions and just open your eyes, wiggle your body, do what you need to do, adapt, change, whatever we are offering here to what is most conducive for your practice in this present moment right now. Don't force, but feel, understand, and respond with kindness and care. Allowing your breathing to settle and become natural, flow unhindered, without our interference. Let the body breathe. And let yourself be breathed by your body. It knows what to do. Don't have to worry when you go asleep that you're not going to be breathing. It just does it all for you, all by itself. So allow it to breathe in the way it needs to breathe. Shallow if it needs to do it shallowly. Deep if it needs to do it deep. Anything really. It needs to sigh quietly, it can every now and then. And then allow your body to do its thing. So we try to plant it onto the mat, onto the chair, onto the ground, onto the cushion, with as much kindness and consideration that we can muster. But then we also listen and see if it tells us to do something to make it more comfortable. Wiggle a leg, or wiggle your bottom, or stretch your spine, or sway your head, roll your shoulders. Whatever is necessary, whatever is indicated, to allow the body to rest. To allow the body to be at peace. Feeling the groundedness through your feet if you're sitting on the chair, and through your bottom, through your crossed legs when you are sitting on the mat. You are supported. You are grounded. So give yourself to that. Sink into it. Let go into it. If you're on a chair, or leaning against a wall, or sitting propped up on a cushion, allow these things to support your lower back. So you can just let go into gravity, let go into the support. And then from this groundedness you can allow the energy to build up from the bottom up. You can allow your spine, which just balancing on your hips to straighten, but not because you force it to, but because you allow it to. You give it space. You allow it to stretch. You allow it to expand. You allow it to be loose. And then you can follow your spine upwards, vertebra by vertebra, disc by disc, reaching the middle back, and then reaching the upper part of your back, which is branching out into your chest, like a tree, which is branches going out. And same here, allow your chest to be open and relaxed. So it can flow with the breathing, like the leaves and the branches flow in the wind. They're flexible, not rigid. And because of that, they don't break. They adapt, they adjust. They flow with the conditions. Then you can expand into your shoulders, allowing them to go slightly back, slightly down. But in a relaxed way. Allowing the air to flow in and to flow out. As it does that, it's almost like massaging your shoulders. Or it's swaying your shoulders like you take a baby into your arms when it can't go asleep, and you just gently rock it backwards and forwards to allow its mind, its body to settle, to be at peace, to let go and to rest. And then you can feel your arms from the shoulders down to the elbows, left and right, down to the wrists, and into the hands. The palms, the backs, the fingers. And again here, be attentive. If you feel your hands are crunched up or in the wrong place, please shift them, move them kindly, slowly, mindfully, and allow them to be, to rest, to relax. Then we can move into our necks, maybe gently stretching the neck by pulling the chin down a little bit towards our chest, and then letting go. And allowing the neck to find a natural, comfortable position. Relaxing our head, balancing our head on top of the neck, the spine. Relaxing the back of the head, the sides of the head, the top of the head, our ears, our temples, our forehead, our brow, the eyelids and the eyes, the nose and the cheeks, the mouth and the chin, the tongue and the jaw. The throat, the brain, all the internal organs, and then remain attentive to your body, scanning it, understanding it, relaxing it. If there is any areas of tension that come to your attention, accept whatever is there, care for it, smooth it, relax it, let it be. And if that works well, you can go and relax your mental world and hang out with your breath. But if you're new to meditation, it's probably good to stay with your body. Keep relaxing it, keep getting feedback, building relaxation, and cultivating wakefulness, energy, happiness, stillness. Please enjoy the rest of this meditation.